This is Tony. Technology is fast catching up to natural telepathy. Telepathy has been science denied. That has been scientifically denied by the scientific community, particularly the quasi-scientific and quasi-medical community of psychiatry, since its inception. We see here that, again, more proof that telepathy is possible through biotechnological means, and yet still psychiatrists will fraudulently label you as diseased and symptomatic because it is in their interest and not the interest of the telepath or the telepathic community, which there is no telepathic community because that community has been dismantled by disbelief, by synthetically engineered disbelief. The supposed communication of thoughts or ideas by means other than the known senses. Why is that? Why is that? We know that this is an inept and incorrect definition of telepathy. We know that because why? Because first order symptoms of schizophrenia, first rank, that is, symptoms of schizophrenia, are hearing voices, frequent and coming from outside the head. Okay? And they're falsely labeling telepathy as an auditory hallucination. It's right here for you. The supposed communication of thoughts or ideas by means, and the way we form thoughts is through the languages we learn growing up, as we are compulsorily educated to learn. But it says it's by means other than the known senses. This is a ridiculous lie. It's a lie because it's not scientific to make the assumption that it exists outside the known senses. Here's a known sense. Hearing. Take that for example. And then see where they're disambiguating it falsely into being auditory hallucination. If you could experience what it's like to be a telepath, you would know by the physics, by using your own common sense, by the physics of the experience of being a telepath and hearing auditory verbal dialogue, that it is impossible to be hallucinatory because the hallucinations have knowledge that the one experiencing them do not have access to. Do not have access to. We're talking about clairaudience, hearing things before they're said. Clairaudience to the effect of voices and people being channeled that will tell you the solutions to math equations while your brain is not doing the work at all. This is real. And the BCI, the brain-computer interfaces that the governments of the world and the corporations of the world are all working on, have made computers achieve similar things. They have created synthetic telepathy. And let me tell you, natural telepathy is superior, and it is natural, and it has to do with the natural order and power of the universe and of reality. The ancient Hindu believers and practices have echoed throughout eternity of human history, eternity and human history. The fact that there lies key components or foundational components to the physics of reality, and that physics is psychic. Completely psychic. Hearing voices does not mean you have a mental illness. Mental illness is a social construction of people who aren't psychic, who don't know what it's like. Okay? They're attempting to dictate reality to people who experience reality on a level which they cannot readily comprehend because they aren't a part of it. If you are a voice hearer, I am reaching out to you. You are in need. You're in need of community because the voices you're hearing could be early developmental stages of full-blown psychic ability. I will help you foster those abilities. Okay? Because the reality is technology is attempting to control natural psychics. The powers that be are attempting to thwart natural evolution and thriving of psychics. Psychiatry does this through socially isolating and indoctrinating, re-educating, like fascists, to make you think, oh, this is not a good thing. This is not a natural thing. This is something that to be done away with. A natural evolved trait, a natural evolved order of nature. A component of it that is intrinsic to the experience of existence, both physically and non-physically. Being swept under the rug by big business, masquerading as medicine, masquerading as science, and really being moral judgment. Not only moral judgment, but psychotic, detached moral judgment, which has no bearing on reality and the reality of psychic reality. No bearing whatsoever. Don't assume because you hear voices. You see, as the initial response, it's like the stages of grief is to deny that you are psychic. It's the mere shock of having the wool taken away from your eyes to be awoken to the psychic reality. And you must trust in that and have faith in that, in your own experience, not a social construction that will other you and alienate you and ultimately destroy you. Because what I am trying to do is empower you and let you know that you're not alone in your experience, and your experience is truly psychic. Don't be deceived by the pharmaceutical industry. Psychology, the American Psychological Association, began with parapsychology. This is history that is suppressed and overlooked. But the founders of the American Psychological Association have split from the Parapsychological Association in the beginning, in the early days of psychology. Okay? And the real psychology is parapsychology. It is the original psychology, and it incorporated psychics and psychic phenomena, and it respected them, and it accepted them socially into society. This later had degenerated into psychiatry, into Christian moralist psychiatry, which is nothing more than a form of modern day exorcism. And they'll exorcise you for being psychic, saying that you have demons in you, while they'll go around with a BCI computer chip, brain interface chip, and be communicating. They will go around and communicate with Google search databases and interface with the internet. This is synthetic telepathy. There's YouTube videos on synthetic telepathy, and there's a researcher which did just what I described to you. He was able to, it's what you call in computer science circles, intelligence augmentation, or IA. It's the inverse of artificial intelligence. Intelligence augmentation takes normal, natural mental capabilities and accelerates them by way of computer technology and artificial intelligence. You should really be open, especially if you believe in the internet, Wi-Fi, and all modern technology and communication methods, that telepathy is natural, and it is natural to all organisms on the planet. If it wasn't, how else would we be? And I'm speaking as a matter of fact that it is true. There are psychic human beings on this earth, and you may be one of them. See, this is suppressed knowledge. Parapsychology is the true original psychology. Religion used to rule where the state had not. The state has not evolved beyond being a religious implement and a moral implement. Theocracy is alive and well today. Gerontocracy is alive and well today. All the most unjust societies which are skeptical of scientific inquiry and of reality itself, which is really a psychosis. You see, groupthink is unnatural. It's technological. When people think technology, they think physical objects, but see, the oldest technology is the most rudimentary technology, the technology of the mind itself. You see, the leverage we give ourselves socially. The leverage we give ourselves through languages. You must understand that we are all a part of this universal language, and that universal language of life is, to the parapsychologist, the life force itself, the psi, the PSI. I am calling to action all believers, all people who sit on the fence, all people who don't believe, all people who hear voices and are allowing themselves to be tortured, permitting themselves to be tortured by psychochemical warfare agents and barbaric rituals that they jocularly and jokingly call treatments, medical treatments. Ritual torture, because exorcism included torture. And that's exactly what psychiatry is, exorcism. They're attempting to exercise your natural psychic capacity and ability because it is a threat to those which do not have them. Humans have always warfared against each other for the most insignificant of differences. But the difference which makes us psychic is the most important.